A customer walks into a fancy restaurant and says, "I'd like to have a Big Mac, please." And the waiter says, "I am sorry, monsieur, but this is a fancy French restaurant. We do not serve Big Mac here." And the customer goes, "But the customer is always right." Here's the thing, the customer isn't always right. The customer is allowed to have the preferences that they want, and at the same time, they're not expecting every business to cater to those preferences. They can't. That would be ridiculous. If someone wants something specific, then they must seek that out from someone who'll provide it. And this is sort of in the space to be thinking as a dungeon master, especially a professional one. Because, in a sense, your players are always right. What they want is what you should deliver for them. And at the same time, you're not going to be delivering everything to everyone. So what do you do? Let's let's put some examples on this. Because let's say that someone really wants to run a horror or really wants to play in a horror game, and that's not really your vibe. Your vibe's more sort of the heroic high fantasy stuff. Whether you uh, decide to give that a go or not is entirely up to you. But it's not reasonable for the player to expect every dungeon master to be able to accommodate that. And it does sort of go both ways. There are dungeon masters out there who are great with horror. It's the best thing that they do. And so they can very capably run other genres. But why would they if this is what they're the best at and they know that there's a lot of people who want this? So it's a little bit of finding your market and doing your best to serve them. The reason I'm thinking about this is because there's a little bit more nuance to it than find find what you want to deliver and what your players want to play and just really explore the overlap with that. Because I was just thinking a few moments ago about some of my more drastic failures as a dungeon master. And I'd like to really offer this to anyone who's playing in this space, who's looking to do this more professionally, to earn more money or to run more games. Because, yeah, some of like this is a mistake that I made years ago, and this is also a mistake that I made weeks ago. So it's pretty fresh on my mind. I've had players contest my rulings before. So I've made a decision and then they've been like, hold up, Dungeon Master. I don't agree that that's what would happen because of this, because of this, because of this. And my philosophy is I will always hear you out. I will always hear you out. If you have an interpretation of things, if you want to play things a certain way, if you've got this crazy homebrew thing in the back of your mind that you would like to try, I will listen to you. And then I will make my decision, and my decision is final. At least you'll get heard. I've had players put forward that, hey, that shouldn't have happened because of this, because of that. So really, my character should have been prepared for that, or really, it should have played out differently. And I've heard them, and inside, I've made a decision, and I've delivered a ruling on that. Now, because dungeon mastery is a complex discipline, you're always doing multiple things at once. Sometimes when I'm a little bit in my head like that, because I'm tracking where the encounter is and what's coming up, and I'm trying to remember what's happened when I write up the notes, and I need to remember that there's a particular payoff in one of the character's personal story arcs that I need to deliver. And so I need to not forget to deliver that. And I also need to be preparing to deliver that well. All sorts of stuff going on, all sorts of stuff. And when I'm in my head like that a little bit, sometimes my communication style gets a lot more blunt, a lot more curt. And so this example from years ago, a player said that their character is going to do something like this. It failed. Uh, it would not have worked at all. This was one of those things. I don't even remember exactly what they were doing, but it was something like I'm going to go out into the hallway and I'm going to keep an eye out for in case any enemy patrols are around. And what happened was something like, and again, I'm vague on the details, but something like there were enemy patrols, but I'd already determined that they're not coming down that hallway. They had a particular patrol pattern that made sense given the layout. And so they approached from another way and they found the party through like a different direction. And this player was upset because, like, well, surely they would have seen them coming, and surely they would have come down this hallway. And I'm sort of in overload mode, and so I say, like, no, they didn't come down that way, and they got really bothered by that, like really bothered by that. Uh, I don't think that this was an isolated thing. I think that they felt like I'd made a lot of decisions like that, not in their favor. Yeah. I'd also made a lot of decisions in their favor. They kept trying to do ridiculous stuff. Didn't always work out for them. What can you do? But in my head, it made perfect sense. I'd evaluated the the validity of this decision in the context of the world, and yeah, according to a fair and reasonable simulation of events, it didn't work out in your favor. And I didn't communicate that fully. More recently, I had a player stick around after one of the sessions, and they asked if we could have music going in the background. And I'm like, well, it's not really something I've ever done before. I have looked into it, but yeah. And they're like, oh, but you use Roll20. Roll20 has this jukebox feature, and they spend a few moments walking me through it. And I play around with it. They're like, look, you can search by genre and by vibes and stuff. I'm like, yeah. And so my conclusion, well, what I said at the end of that was, I'll think about it. If it works for me, I'll add music. And I spent maybe an hour looking through some music libraries and I couldn't find stuff that works. I might have found a solution since, but at the time thinking, this isn't the right fit, and how do I? It's like if I need to add an image to a game on the fly, like let's someone says, I summon a pet cactus. Like, do I have a cactus? I can look up cactus images and I can see ones that work. And so if I bring up 50 cactus images, I can go that's the one. It's a PNG, it's the right size, it's the right shape, it's the right vibe. Boom. Can't really do that in with music. Be like, hold on, just everyone just wait while I mute my microphone. I need to spend a few minutes listening to some music. Doesn't really work. And so I need to make sure that it was all prepped beforehand. And also what I was finding was not, yeah, it just wasn't for me. It was fine music, but um, in the context of running these encounters, I'm like, eh. And so I did what I said I would do. I considered it and then decided no. But I didn't communicate that. I just, like, next session, they show up and I just didn't run any music because I'd done what they asked and I did what I said. They asked me to think about adding music and I thought about it and I decided no. The mistake was not communicating any of this to them because I could have very easily pulled them aside and was like, thanks for the suggestion. I really appreciate that. And you should appreciate suggestions. You should appreciate harsh feedback. There's the old customer service adage that for everyone who complains to you, 10 people are suffering silently and will just grumble. So I could have said, yeah, thanks for the idea. I looked into it. Doesn't really work for me. If I find something that does work in the future, great. But for now, you know, Thanks, sorry. But I didn't say any of that because I was in a little bit of a bit in my head, and yeah, maybe coincidentally, maybe not. That player dropped out soon after. Might have even been their last session. If it wasn't, it was one of their last sessions. And I don't know, mate. Like, it could be a coincidence. I could be reading way too much into things, but I take this craft pretty seriously. And so, if something unfortunate happens, a player dropping out is unfortunate, then I must assume that I was somehow responsible for that. Which a lot of people are going to say that that's insane. Like, if someone's schedule changes, if someone just doesn't like you, even though you're great, you can't take that personally. And yeah, I'm not going to take that personally, but I'm going to assume that there was something I could have done to prevent that. And so next time I'll be even better. This is what mastery looks like. If you're supposed to be a dungeon master, be a master. Mastery means always improving. And so you seek perfection, even knowing that you can't achieve it. And so the point of this is communicate. W- As a professional, you must communicate. And I'm telling you this, but I'm not. I'm telling me this. This is a reminder for me. This is a message for future William. Remember to communicate. Because yeah, if someone comes to you and they say, "I want to run a horror game with you as the dungeon master. I want to play in high fantasy things. I want to play a half elf, half orc. I want to play as a cyborg. I want you to run music. I want you to use these sorts of graphics." You don't have to say yes to any of that. But as a professional, and as a basic courtesy, you hear them out. If you agree, great. And if you disagree, you fully explain your reasoning. So that way they know that you have thought things through, you are fair, and in the off chance that you apply that same reasoning differently in the future, maybe they can challenge that to hold you to a standard of consistency. It's pretty simple stuff, and it's always the simple stuff that gets you. Always. It's yeah. Communicate. Communicate. Just communicate.